Hi there, this is Linda and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm putting together my Project Life spread for October 18th through October 20th, 2024 to document a weekend road trip to Quebec City. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so this is the week, actually just weekend, that we went on a small road trip to Quebec City. And I narrowed down my photos to fit on the spread, and then I had planned out how I was going to do this spread in a previous video. Let me find it. So using the Alphabet Quarterly Scrapbook kit, I planned out how I wanted to do this spread. So I'd originally thought to do this because Quebec City has distinctive initials, QC, but I didn't love the way that the C looked and it didn't really fit. So I think I'm just gonna do the Q like that. And then I'll probably write Quebec City smaller on top of there. And then I had picked out cut down this pattern paper to add some journaling on top of these. And then I have a couple other ones that I was thinking could be for embellishments or something. And then I pulled this card for just kind of like an overview. I'm not sure that that's the layout I'm going to want, but that was my initial sketch. And then let's see, I'm just going to lay out my photos and see how I like them. Okay, so that's just an initial starting place, but now I need to figure out kind of how do I want this to look. So I have 3 spots for journaling plus this one. So this, I think I'm going to just write like an overview of what we were doing and why. So maybe this one should be on this side. Thinking. And then on the first day we went to this waterfall. So I'm thinking that this one should be about the waterfall and I should have those photos all together. So I have these 3 photos from that. So that makes sense. And then this is just quintessential Quebec City there. So I feel like that makes sense. And then maybe put the coffee one because I like balancing the colors. So these ones have a lot of blue sky, so we don't really want them near each other. And then here I can do story. So this will be about our travel day and the waterfall, which was day 1. This will be about day 2 and kind of what we saw and everything. And then this one, I guess, could be about day 3, which was mostly just driving home and like reflections. So I kind of like that idea, and I can do date stamps on those. I like that idea. So I think I'm going to do that. Let me just get my date stamp here. So this was October 18th. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this to each of these cards. I'm thinking too how I want to add the title or dates on there. Thinking I want to just do it on some white paper and cut it out. So I'm going to figure that one out. I want to find, so these 2 are centered and I don't like how they're both centered. So I think I'm going to mix that up. I also don't like that this is just like a line. So what I'm going to do is move this guy here and this one here. And I want this so that the blue and brown are touching and this brown one can go in the middle. There we go. So it looks less formula and more balanced. So what I need to do is go in my stash and find some embellishments for these. And I purposefully had these 2 spots because this is a travel spread. I have a lot of like large travel ephemera. So this is going to be a good way to use some of that for my stash up. I also had pulled this card from my stash when I did my initial planning. So that's using up some products from my stash. And then I'm gonna try to find some sort of formula to embellish some of my photos. Most likely it'll be word phrase strips, but we'll see once I get to that point. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and put you guys on fast forward, figure out how I wanna do my title card, do my journaling, and search for embellishments and get this one put together. Okay, so this one comes together pretty quickly, which I feel like always happens when I'm working with a kit and I've pre-planned my page because I've already thought about all of the elements and it's just the final details and putting it together. I brought over Olive, my typewriter, to type out the word Quebec City to add onto my title card there. I promise I will not use Olive in every single one of my process videos, but I've been using it a lot lately. It is just so cute. And when I want something that's just like this simple typed phrase like this, I just want to type out the words Quebec City. It works really well because it's so much quicker and easier than printing something out on the computer, which takes, typing it up and then printing it and all of that. This is just, I can pull Olive over, slip a paper in, and type a couple of words pretty quickly as part of my process. I also use my rolling date stamp to stamp the dates of this spread. I have a very small rolling date stamp that I purchased from Amazon, and it is linked in my description box down below. And I really, really just love this date stamp. I really like how small it is. It's just very petite and super cute. So it's my favorite one that I've been using quite a bit. I don't know if you use rolling date stamps regularly, but for whatever reason, all of my old ones ended at 2023. So I had to get a bunch of new ones this year. So I did pick up a few, but this has been my go-to one. I'm adhering down the Q for Quebec City, and then I'm going to adhere these 3 strips of paper on top of it using some rolling adhesive. And then I wanted to add a geotag embellishment on top of Quebec City there because that's where we were. I think you can kind of get that from the spread, but I really love geotags as an embellishment and I find myself reaching for them often, and I don't have that many in my stash, so that is definitely something I'm going to try to find more of to add to my stash of products to pull from. Next, I'm going to do this journaling card here. So this one I had pulled from my stash when I was planning this project out. So I planned this spread using the Alphabet Scrapbook kit from Ali Edwards. And I did that back a while ago, like right before I did this, but I shared that video earlier this week. And when I planned it, in addition to using products from that kit, I also pulled this card from my stash because I knew this was a travel spread and I wanted to use some more of my stash products. Planning spreads is something that I love to do in advance. I don't do it for all of my Project Life spreads for sure, but it does make the process much quicker and easier because all of the products are already there when you're ready to put the spread together. It's also just a great way to use up some products to plan out a spread and designate those products to be used in that project. So on this card, I'm just documenting kind of the overall fact that we took this road trip, that it was kind of spontaneous, and we planned it about a week in advance, which is about as spontaneous as we're ever going to be for travel. We are not spontaneous people, but most of our trips are planned like a year in advance. So this one was definitely spontaneous for us. We just kind of decided to do it and made it happen. So I have these 3 journal cards, and like I said at the beginning, they're kind of for each day of this trip. So we had the Friday and the Saturday and the Sunday. So I live about 6 hours from Quebec City. And so the Friday and the Sunday were partially travel days, but we also had a little bit of time in Quebec City each day. And then we had all day on Saturday. We'd never been to Quebec City before, even though we don't live that far away. So we thought it was worth the trip just to see it. So that first card there, I journaled about our travel day to Quebec City and what we did on the first day, which we went to see Montmorency Falls, which are these waterfall photos here. I don't have a great photo here of like the full falls. There's one, but it has a sticky note over it. You'll see more in the final images when I just blur out my boyfriend in that shot. But I didn't include a photo of just the falls here because I did want to keep the spread to only these 2 pages and not add an insert to add additional photos. I wanted to narrow it down so that my photos weren't super repetitive. And because I had that photo of us in front of the waterfall, I felt like that was sufficient to document the waterfall. And I just had so many photos to pick from for this spread. So I went with my favorites, and I'm okay that not everything was documented. So now I'm trying to go through my stash to find some embellishments to include on top of those 2 filler cards. And this is another great way to use up products in my stash. For this spread, I had cut up a 12 by 12 pattern paper from the Alphabet Story Kit or Scrapbook Kit from Ali Edwards. And my plan was to add an embellishment on each of these large cards here, or these blank cards. So I just want to use a large embellishment from my stash. I end up going with this black heart on the left-hand side and that travel banner on the right-hand side. I liked that they were both black and white because the spread is very monochromatic. It's very black, white, and then pops of blue, especially in my photos. And I wanted to stick with that because I had so much going on in my photos and I really wanted the photos to be the highlight of the spread. Unlike some of my other Project Life spreads where I just have photos, of my food or my cat, and they're not necessarily good quality photos. When I'm traveling, I really do focus on my photography and try to get good photos. So these are my favorites from that trip, and I really want them to shine. I'm now working on journaling the second journal card here, which is documenting the Saturday, which we had the full day there. So that was most of our sightseeing. I did want to point out that I didn't do all of my journaling back to back because there's a lot of handwriting here and my hand starts to get tired if I journal that much. So I took some breaks in between each of the journaling cards to work on the embellishments or different parts of the spread. I had to trim slightly off the edge of these circles on each of these cards because they are slightly bigger than the cards, but not that much. I'm adding redline tape to adhere this banner on top of this card. This is one of those rubber embellishments. I feel like brands have moved away from producing those because they don't seem to hold up that well, but I'm happy to have it in my spread because they are so cute. But I did put it on the pattern paper, not on top of a photo, and I'm using redline tape to adhere it with the thought that if in the future it doesn't last, I can just pull that card out and swap it out for another embellishment, and it's not going to mess up any of my words or my photos. Moving on to this last journaling card here. I am journaling about the Sunday morning and then getting on the road to drive home. And then because there really wasn't that much going on Sunday, I had some extra space. So I used it to document just kind of our overall reflection, which was Quebec City was very cute and very fun. And we're happy that we went and we had perfect fall weather while we were there. But we live 6 hours away, or slightly more than 6 hours away. And Montreal is about halfway there from where we live. And in our opinion, we felt like it wasn't worth the extra drive. So we probably won't make it back to Quebec City in the future, but we are definitely happy that we went. We do go to Montreal usually once a year or so. I went twice last year. I haven't gone this year, but I went to Quebec City and to Toronto this year. So I think that it was okay to skip it, but I will definitely make it to Montreal next year. On that photo of the waterfall, I added a chipboard from my stash that was from my travel themed chipboard pieces and stamped QC on there for Quebec City because it had just a little spot to add something on it. And then I pulled over 3 word phrase strip sheets from my stash and I'm moving around the spread, adding them stacked onto a few of the photos, just 3 of them on each photo. And that's just a great way to kind of embellish your photos, add a little something extra without adding too much. And I used white, black, and this like tan color because, like I said, I didn't want to bring any more real color into the spread. So I was happy to have some neutrals. I do tend to gravitate towards the white word phrase strips pretty frequently because I do these 3 colors on a lot of my spreads. This is kind of one of my go-to formulas. I often have white word phrase strips as one of them. So that's something I want to keep in mind when picking up new products to put into my stash, that I use the white word phrase strips more often than other colors. I'm just going through and deciding where I want to add these. I'm going to add them onto a couple more photos onto the right-hand side. I added it on 3 on the right-hand side. and actually 2 on the left-hand side, because I did have one that had that piece of chipboard on it. Because I had that extra sky showing on that waterfall photo, I felt like that was a good spot to add a piece of chipboard. And because this spread is so formulaic, I thought it would be nice to have at least one photo that had some sort of different treatment. In my opinion, my favorite part of this spread is my title card, but I like how cohesive this is and how it all kind of comes together in the end because I've used so much repetition and the same colors throughout the spread. I also love that the photos are really the highlight of what's going on here. I did want to talk a little bit about the fact that this is only a 3-day weekend on one spread. My project life tends to run weekly, Monday through Sunday, but I do adjust my weeks as needed to accommodate some things in my life, like a trip like this, because I want Quebec City to have its own spread. I wouldn't want to combine this spread with the Monday through Thursday that came before, because first of all, the photos and the stories would be kind of disjointed, and I don't want to have to devote part of the spread to that everyday life stuff, but I also don't want to not document that everyday life stuff. So I was happy to combine it with the week prior, which was longer than 7 days, to balance out this spread and to still have the same number of spreads at the end of the year. However, I do not care that much about that. So when I eventually get to the end of this, I believe you will see that I get to week 53 when there's really only 52 weeks in a year. And that's because I do fudge the dates a bit. And I also want to be on that Monday through Sunday span. So depending on when the new year starts, I will adjust accordingly, because I will always start my album with January 1st and always end it with December 31st. I won't run between years in one spread because those are going to be separate albums. Now I'm just going ahead and slipping everything into the pockets, and I'm going to call this one done. I had so much fun putting this spread together. I really enjoy documenting travel in my project life. Here's a look at that completed spread. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Thank you. Bye.